Tonight, fears over the future of an aged care facility in the mid-north, and the state government announces a relief package to help the local oyster industry battling to fill a stock shortage across the country.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. Fears are growing over the future of Peterborough's Nolia Lodge aged care facility. There are concerns the building won't meet national standards in years to come.
Built as hostel accommodation in the 1980s, the Nolia Lodge has now evolved into an aged care facility. The lodge currently meets federal government standards, but with the facility not used for the purpose it was originally built for, there are fears it won't meet them in the near future.
And although our hostel meets accreditation standards at the moment, in 2 or 3 years' time it probably will not, and that will mean a big upheaval for Peterborough.
Concerns are rising over the state of the facility.
The size of the bathrooms, the size of the actual accommodation, the way they get their meals brought over from the hospital.
SA Health is currently considering one option of building a purpose-built aged care wing within the hospital that would be able to cater for a range of residents' needs.
Moving all the residents up into the new wing, which would be called Nolia Wing. It would be serviced from the hospital.
Government officials will fly into Peterborough next Wednesday to meet with stakeholders to discuss the current condition of the aged care lodge and what changes can be made to improve the facility.
Some way in which the 3 levels of government could fund what is a $6 or $7 million project.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
A tip-off has led to a raid on a Port Lincoln house which uncovered a cache of weapons and drugs. Police searched multiple locations, uncovering nunchucks, knuckle dusters and equipment to grow cannabis, along with 1.3 kilos of the dried plant ready for sale. Police say the drugs are linked with ongoing crimes in the area.
There is a direct link between drugs and the housebreaks and motor vehicle crime here in Port Lincoln. It's really essential that we have community support.
A 39-year-old man has been charged and will appear in court at a later date. A Hern driver will face court after being filmed allegedly doing a burnout and fleeing the scene of an accident in Port Lincoln. At 4:30 yesterday afternoon, witnesses captured the moment a 19-year-old man sped away following a collision with a Stobie pole after losing control of his white Commodore. Neighbours followed the damaged car and reported the incident to police. The Port Lincoln man was found to be driving unlicensed and unregistered. Oyster growers will have their lease fees waived for 2 years as the POMS disease hits the industry's bottom line. It's part of a $2.6 million industry support package, which has been welcomed by growers on the Eyre Peninsula.
POMS disease has ripped through breeding grounds in Tasmania, reducing stock numbers by 80%. It's put immense pressure on growers locally. While a hatchery has opened at Cow to ease that load, it'll take up to 2 years to replenish the lost stock.
The output of the industry will be very low for the next 18 months to 2 years.
One of the biggest costs for growers is leasing fees, costing up to $800,000 per annum. They'll be waived for 2 years as part of a state government industry support package.
When there'll be people who will have lost their jobs, we want to make sure that these businesses don't go out of business.
Growers say it'll still be tough going, but the waiving of fees will give businesses breathing space.
The low harvest of the oysters, it's going to still be hard times, but this is one thing which will make a big difference.
Eddie Hughes says the disease is the equivalent of the steel crisis to Whyalla and drought to farmers.
A sustainable industry that can go on for many years to come. We just need to help them get through this challenging period.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
After the break, 2 companies joined forces to launch a massive solar facility in the mid-north. Details next. A power project developer has teamed up with a local business to construct a massive solar farm in Peterborough. Construction's begun and the farm's on track to be complete and producing energy by March.
The 4.9 megawatt solar farm putting Peterborough on the national map. Sitting just on the outskirts of town, it'll help power part of the state with its clean, renewable energy.
Our goal has been to bring large-scale PV projects into the region.
Nice, good, flat piece of land. Absolutely no obstructions from trees or surrounding hills or mountains.
Construction's well underway with hopes the farm will produce energy by Easter.
Today the solar panels have arrived, the first set of them by truck from Melbourne. So the tracking technology has been installed. The panels will be installed over the next few weeks.
It's the largest solar farm in the state for the time being, and locals have been involved in the construction phase.
The peak employment is about 40 to 50 people on the site.
Some of the local people have managed to get some employment out there, so their wage checks are being spent here in Peterborough, so it's a win-win for Peterborough.
Renew Power Group hopes other regional cities will now embrace the change of renewable energy too.
Ideally, we would sell the power directly to a local company in the area who has sufficient demand for 4 or 5 megawatts. So it could be, smelter, meatworks, local councils.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
The state government has granted $60,000 towards a study focusing on regional community leadership. The project will measure just how strong and efficient the region's local governments are.
Uncovering what makes the backbone of regional communities tick.
Local government's a very important source of community leadership, but it's not the only source of community leadership. There's the people who run the football club, the netball club, the CWA.
A UniSA research project titled Mobilising Community Leadership is set to be rolled out across regional Australia in a bid to survey local communities with either strengths and weaknesses at the top.
Fundamentally, the study will uncover a way in which we can help our communities across regional South Australia and indeed across many parts of Australia grow.
It's a push to link higher levels of governments with those on the ground.
There's often a perception that politicians within state government and federal government really don't know how to engage with local leaders to get the best outcomes for those communities.
The 3-year-long study is expected to start next year, and the researchers say they expect preliminary findings in 18 months. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
The Commonwealth Games Queen's Baton Relay visits SA this weekend ahead of the April events on the Gold Coast. Whyala's Ian Harrison will fly the flag for our region as a baton runner during its Angaston stint.
Launched from Buckingham Palace, the Queen's baton carries a message from Her Majesty that'll be read at the opening ceremony of April's Commonwealth Games. It's making its way across Australia, stopping at a number of destinations around the state this weekend. Whyala will be represented by Ian Harrison.
Represent people from Whyala as well as from South Australia in being able to participate.
Mr Harrison worked as a sports trainer at the 2006 Commonwealth Games in Melbourne, and he was keen to do it again this year. While circumstances have prevented him from volunteering this time around, he says he's doing the next best thing.
Ordinary people are able to participate in this. Some of them people will train for years and years and years, and they'll get to that one and just participate.
Mr Harrison will walk 200 metres of the circuit and has been in training to prepare.
Just walking. Wetlands are very good for walking on. And that's basically it.
He receives a uniform along with other items as recognition of his efforts. He also says he's got his instructions on how to behave.
There'll be lots of media there, one of the things that they stressed is look happy, smile a lot.
The baton will visit Port Lincoln on Monday. John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
After the break, the latest on the Adelaide to Lincoln yacht race. The details next. Australia's oldest circus has come to Port Augusta to show the region an array of death-defying stunts. Southern Cross News caught up with performers from the Lennon Brothers Circus who are limbering up for their shows this weekend.
Jumping and tumbling to heights not many would dare.
Probably got one of the best programs in Australian circus at the moment, just the sheer fact of variety in our performance.
It's very fun, like seeing the kids smile at the front seating. It's very cool getting flying in the air.
Hailing from Russia, Morocco and South America, this acrobatic troupe is hoping to make Port Augusta audiences feel right at home.
Yeah, I'm based in Russian acrobat, so I'm like a 3-man high. I'm always the bass, and also a bass for my daughter too.
Stunt riders Jefferson and Remy have only performed together for 9 months. It's no surprise they call this the Globe of Death.
Yeah, you can break one arm, you can break one leg, or even worse. Yeah.
Jefferson has been performing here inside the Globe of Death for over 11 years. And the ringmaster says it's one of the circus's most dangerous stunts.
It's just a sheer fact that it's in so close proximity with each other. And if you do fall off, it is like hitting a brick wall. There's nowhere to go.
And then to be able to do something I love but bring it into the circus, it was just, yeah, great.
The acts will be performing in town until Sunday before rolling up in Whyalla and Clare. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
The Adelaide to Port Lincoln Teakle Classic is underway, with yachts making their way across the Spencer Gulf. The light wind conditions will translate to a slower event than usual, but last year's winner, Secret Men's Business, is still being tipped to win.
If the atmosphere before the race was calm, conditions were even calmer.
They're going to be slow. It's probably the lightest forecast I reckon I've seen for the last 15 years.
Crews familiar to battling high winds, giant waves and treacherous conditions, this year were adopting unusual tactics.
We don't normally sleep in the race, but they may need a little bit of a rest, just lay on the floor of the boat perhaps. And also we take a bit extra food because they probably be a bit more hungry as the race time draws out.
The light forecast means the Teakle Classic will stretch boats at sea, but be a welcome sight for those watching on land.
It's great for Port Lincoln people because you'll actually be able to see majority of the crew will probably be arriving about maybe lunchtime, subject to weather.
38 entrants left Adelaide today. Concubine and Shining Sea, hot favourites to finish first, while local boats Secret Men's Business and Fresh could go back to back.
Everyone would love to see a Port Lincoln crew get up.
Race celebrations will be held on Sunday. The annual event expected to make a splash across the weekend.
Everyone loves their area and their coastline, and plus there's some outside money coming into the community in the restaurants and the bars and the shops, so it's great.
From an economic perspective, events like this are hugely important to us.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Two of Broken Hill's local footy exports will line up for their first taste of AFL this weekend. Lockie Tiziani and Isaac Cumming have both been named in the GWS Giants squad for the club's inaugural AFLX tournament.
A dynamic duo soon to don the orange and charcoal.
Putting all the hard work, so hopefully it pays off.
Lockie Tiziani and Isaac Cumming are part of the 16-man Giants squad who'll play the final day of the new AFLX game tomorrow. The Giants will be playing just 2 games against Richmond and the Brisbane Lions, with a potential third if they make the grand final. There's a good chance the pair will get a run, and Lockie hopes it's a stepping stone for him and Isaac to make their official AFL debut in 2018.
Watched a bit of it last night, and it looks like it's a pretty fast-paced game, so yeah, it's going to be good to blow the cobwebs out and, yeah, get ready for the season.
Greater Western Sydney recruited the Broken Hill-born pair in the 2016 draft. They spent their first season playing for the Giants reserve side in the NE AFL. 1 year on and they've been working hard on the pre-season track, gunning for selection this year.
This is our first AFL pre-season and, yeah, it's been pretty tough actually. Body's been pulling up a bit sore, but no, it's been good. It's probably the fittest me and Isaac have been.
Not bad for two lads from the Silver City.
We've come a long way from being in the hill. Probably never thought I'd be playing on an AFL squad. So no, it was definitely a dream of mine and Isaac's, and yeah, we're nearly there.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Well, from one sport to another, time now for cricket tips.
G'day and welcome to this week's round of cricket tips for Port Augusta. This is the final round of the competition. For sure, West Augusta will be playing the last match against Quorn, and that will be on Sunday at Edsar Oval. Quorn should win this easily, and if they win and win by a big margin, and Central Stirling lose, Quorn could automatically go straight to the grand final. On the other hand, South Augusta play Central on tomorrow, Saturday. If South Augusta win and win by a big margin, they could also jump Central Stirling, and they could go in the grand final. So this week makes up for a very interesting round. For my winners, like I said, I've gone for Quorn over Westies. And the other match, I'm going to go for Central Stirling to beat South. And if they do that, they will automatically go straight in the grand final anyway. So there are my two winners, Central Stirling and Corn.
Hello and welcome to round 14 of Port Pirie Cricket. With just 2 minor rounds left till finals, the top 3 teams will be using these next 2 weeks to fine-tune their lineups in readiness for March's final series. This round starts with 2nd place Wandeera taking on 3rd place Solly North at Port Oval on Saturday. Wandeera made hard work of their chase last week against Southport, losing 4 for 14 early before steadying to win the match. Solly North have found form in the second half of this season and will fancy their chances. I'm tipping Wandeera. At the Globe Oval, it's topside Props taking on last place Southport. Southport continue to play the youngsters, and it was Walsh and Eberhard last week with runs showing their ability. Props continue to impress and shouldn't have too much trouble in this match. Props to win this one.
Milder weather in Broken Hill tomorrow should see Broken Hill cricket go ahead after a layoff last week due to excess heat. West take on South at the Jubilee Oval. This should be a good game. South coming off a win at their last encounter. I think they'll be fairly competitive, but given West standing on the league ladder, I think Westies must be tipped to win. And the other game could possibly be a preview to this year's final. Central take on North at the Alma Oval. Centrals look to be getting stronger as the season wears on, and I think the Magpies should record a win in this game.
Stay with us. After the break, we'll have all the local weather details with Abby, and it's heating up over the weekend and into next week.
Yes, Fraser, it looks like this cool relief has come to an end as the mercury soars into the 30s and almost 40s in some areas. I'll tell you when the heat hits next. Welcome back. It started warming up in all centres today. Sunny and 30 the top for Port Augusta and Port Pirie. A cloudy and another cooler day for Port Lincoln. To the satellite now, and bright looking cloud over northern parts of South Australia with a low pressure trough is causing some drizzle and a few storms in areas. Patchy cloud in the southeast with a cold front is keeping things dry, and skies are clearer in western parts. And if you're heading out on the waters to escape the warmer weather tomorrow, we'll see southeasterly winds shifting southwesterly up to 15 knots, higher seas at 2 metres and a south-southwesterly swell. Sunrise is at 5 to 7 on the dot. And as mentioned, temps are going to start to sizzle again tomorrow with lots of sunshine forecast. A scorching 36 the top for Port Augusta, 32 in Whyalla. It's definitely not as hot in the west, but it does start warming up from tomorrow. 27 the top for Port Lincoln. Very hot in Woodner and Corn, temps creeping up into the mid-30s there, while the mercury will rise into the 30s everywhere else. A warm 34 the top for Port Pirie. Those warmer temperatures will continue in Port Lincoln for the rest of the weekend and into next week, with some cloudy days forecast in between. Summery temps for Cleve too, but there is a chance of some scattered showers on Sunday morning, and it's going to be an absolute scorcher in Woodner with sweltering temps over the coming days, the hottest being Monday, 37 the top. And the heat wave is certainly packing a punch further up the Gulf. We'll see temps creep up from the low 30s for Whyalla and Kadina. Tuesday looking like the hottest day for both centres, a hot 35 the top, but Port Augusta is in for a scorching start to the week as the mercury rises to 38 degrees on Monday and Tuesday. And continuing with the theme, temps are certainly warming up next week in Port Pirie, 37 the top on Tuesday. It will be warm in Clare, and it's a scorching few days in Broken Hill as the mercury rises into the high 30s on Sunday, Monday and Tuesday. So Fraser, it's going to be a sweltering start to next week.
It sure is. Thanks, Abby. And that's all from the newsroom for now. Thanks for your company. Enjoy your weekend. Good night.